this time period is everything from Virginia down to where the Spanish are occupying Florida, and from the Atlantic all the way to the Pacific.
Carolina was actually the colony of a colony.
The very first fleet that came up from Barbados, you had 3 slaves. Only over that first 10 years, more slaves are going to come in. As they start running out of land to give to indentured servants, they're going to start kind of phasing the indentured servants out, bringing in more slaves. When you get to 1690, and rice planting starts to become very popular, you are very dominated by slave labor.
South Carolina is the story, or the extension of the story of West Africa.
From 1450 to 1800, the largest group of people that come to the Western Hemisphere were English, German, Spanish, French. No, Africans. 1708 Africans are the majority of the population in Carolina. And that doesn't change until, 1930. Yeah, 1930.
Why Africa? Why not, anywhere else in the entire world?
Native Americans have been living on this site for thousands of years before the colonists arrived.
That, the Indians are converting to Christianity. They are dying off. Let's save them and let's use Africans. And the belief became too that Africans were well suited for slavery.
Rice being introduced to South Carolina was this transformative moment.
The rice plant slaves were worth more than the other slaves because they had this certain skill. And then they realized, well, we use the tide, so they use tidal flooding to flood the field.
They're using the tidal flow off of the main river
all the time.
Thomas I only had 11 slaves when he arrived in South Carolina. By 1850, there were 178 listed on the census. Rice demanded a lot of labor.
I want people to see what a real plantation looks like.
Song of the South, sweet potato pie and a shut my mouth. Gone with the wind, there ain't nobody looking back again.
People told the story of their plantation in different terms.
The tree of history in South Carolina is flaring branches, and there's not a history.
I do want to say, slavery is bad. They could these places like they were these wonderful places to be, even if you were a slave. And that's simply not true. And I just can't go along with it.
It was very difficult for them to leave if they chose to.
I was so happy.
What's the name of it? Southern Mutual Life Insurance.
Like they do today, we take out insurance, but there's stipulations that fine print.
Ways and think that they won't pay for it. And what they're saying is, let's say, if there is a riot, if there's a foreign invasion, if there's a civil war, 1859, so, the war's approaching, so, look, in the event there's a civil war, if something happens, we're not liable.
I was in the land of cotton, old times are not forgotten. Look away, look away, look away, 60 land.
The introduction of cotton was sort of the big event for the government.
You could actually be a successful cotton planter, as Scott pointed out, with a few slaves, or even actually by yourself. But if you can get free labor or enslaved labor to do it for you, you could be very, very successful.
This is a cotton plantation. He made his money off of the cotton crop. He had 9,000 acres of land.
They spent a lot of money and effort in the United States rebuilding, replenishing the slaves here in South Carolina for cotton production.
Slavery in connection with cotton was much more widespread here and through the rest of the South.
During the 1840s and 50s, it was not uncommon for the slaves of the Grant family to produce more than 100 bales of short staple or upland cotton per year. These bales were eventually hauled to market in Charleston or Columbia, South Carolina by wagoneers or by water.
This is the bale right here. This is what it looks like.
This is it.
Political system, the whole social structure is based on slavery.
139 slaves with only 20 houses for all of those slaves. few slaves lived in a very small log cabin.
A lot of Southern whites did think of themselves as being very culturally different. Southern leaders were still angry about the tariff and felt that the manufacturing section of the nation, still got too much. But from the words of the secessionists themselves, out of their own mouths, we know that they saw slavery as the central cause for secession. Once South Carolina secedes, the United States Army here essentially represents the armed forces of a foreign nation. South Carolina wants them gone.
To save and preserve the Union. But in spite of what he wanted to do, it became a war about slavery.
Fort Sumter isn't here originally. Fort Sumter is constructed in 1829. A message says, saying, sir, you have 1 hour to vacate this fort. Hour goes by, nothing happens. The plan for the new State House in 1860, the idea that had been accepted for a design for that was actually going to include slaves laboring in the fields, working on a cotton plantation, working in the rice fields. So it would have become the only state capital that sort of enshrined slavery.
When you look at all of the workmanship, you have to recognize that this was African American workmanship that we were looking at, and we all admire that, and we should remember that. We have to know African American history deeply, and just the awareness that promotes pride in achievement and accomplishment. So we have to appreciate what our forefathers have done.